All right, so our topic this week is... Oh, you muted me.
I muted you.
Typical male.
If only there was a universal mute button.
Our topic this week is workplace relationships.
Ooh.
So feel free to call in. I want to know what you guys think on workplace relationships.
Well, hold on one second. You can't. I know it's ladies' room, but can I pose this question to?
Yeah, go for it.
Mike, have you had one?
No, not a workplace relationship. I mean, I've been touched inappropriately by Craig all the time.
Yeah, really.
That's
like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
before I went
that's between me and him. But I mean, well, being in McGarvey's, I mean, the alcohol flows and everybody has a good time, and you're hugging and the kissing and the hugging and the loving and
but those are customers. I'm talking about. I mean, so did you?
That's my workplace. You're talking coworkers.
Yeah, right. No. A relationship with a coworker. Is really the.
Did your wife ever come to work for you and Phil at any point in time?
No.
Did you? What about your kids?
No.
That would be considered a workplace relationship also.
No.
If one of your kids works with you.
No. My son worked for the company, but I mean, are you talking about having sex with coworkers at work? What are you talking about?
Okay.
I guess that you know what? Maybe we should define this. Aaron, what are you talking about? I mean,
okay.
My understanding.
Workplace relationships are unique interpersonal relationships with important implications for the individuals in those relationships, the organization in which the relationship exists and develops. Workplace relationships directly affect the worker's ability to drive to succeed. These connections are multifaceted, can exist in and out of the organization, and be both positive and negative. One such deterrent lies in the non-existence of workplace relationships, which can lead to feelings of loneliness. Workplace relationships are not limited to friendships, but also include superior-subordinate relationships, romantic relationships, and family relationships.
Is this the don't do it thingy you're talking about?
No.
That's what I'm asking,
we want to know. What do you think?
About workplace relationships?
I've worked with my daughter. I wanted to kill her.
Well, my son did work for the company, but I was never around because I was always on the road. But I mean, I don't know.
Like your son, for instance, your son does something, and they come to you and say, you know what your son did.
Yeah.
Then you're like,
that happened.
Then
you're
they
fired
like,
him.
Whoa, you know.
Okay.
You know, it's if you don't do your job, it's the Belichick forum. Don't do your job, then you're fired.
Well, why don't we talk to the subject matter expert? Let's go to Craig over here because I'm pretty sure he knows a lot about this stuff.
This is a topic near and dear to my heart. As a matter of fact, while I worked at Fidelity, I literally started writing a book. And I wanted to title it The Gentleman's Guide to Office Dating with the universal no sign through the word gentle. So it was just the men's guide to office dating. I wrote the foreword and like 2 or 3 chapters. I still have it saved in Word. And it was entirely based on my own personal observations about how unbelievably easy it was to bang chicks that you worked with. I mean, it was. Well,
especially at Fidelity,
it was horrible.
I was going to say,
looking back on
Fidelity.
it,
like 4,000 people that work at Fidelity.
Looking back on it, it's horrible, and it would never get published because, again, like in the foreword, I specifically stated that this wasn't a book that was devoted to the notion that you're going to create a long-term relationship. This is specifically a book designed to teach you how to manipulate people and situations to just get laid. And again, it was based completely on my own personal observations of the, as Aaron just said, the interpersonal dynamics that relate to people who are working in an environment together constantly. And to me, as somebody who's a huge studier of psychology, it was amazing how easy it was once I began to notice these repetitious sort of similarities to the way that people are, how you could literally modify your own behavior in such a way as to produce getting laid. I mean, that's basically what it boiled down to, and it really just came down to very simple terms, and that was that number one, broads love to be pursued, okay, and guys love to pursue them, and so all you ever had to do was choose your targets, and targets plural, okay, very important, and you had to essentially pretend. This is so awful. You had to essentially pretend. In fact, I think chapter 1 or chapter 2 was how to pretend like you give enough of a fuck to get fucked, right? And so it was a lot of like using active listening to extrapolate information to really understand. Again, you're talking multiple targets. So you're using active listening, but you're also using your conversational skills to sort of to flesh out things. Okay, so one of the things that you're actively listening for is, are they happy? Because a lot of these girls are in relationships, right? Because again, you're not trying to get in a relationship; you're just trying to get laid. So a lot of these girls are probably in relationships. So you're using active listening, and as you're getting the information, you're sort of you're back and forthing, carefully determining whether or not they're happy in their relationship. And if this is somebody that you work closely with, I think there was somebody that did a study that was very simplistically boiled down to the most likely determinant whether or not you're going to have sex with someone is proximity, right? And that's something that I used in the first couple of chapters of this book that I wrote, was if that's true, then the more closely you work with someone, okay, if that's the major determinant factors to whether or not you're going to have sex with them is how often and how close you work with them, then you need to use that to your advantage. You know what I mean? So you need to figure out, is this someone that I potentially may be able to have sex with? Okay, so if so, multiple targets. If so, you're going to zero in on certain pieces of information, and that is, are they happy in their relationship? Are they bored in their relationship? And then once you are able to identify those determinant factors, then you are able to begin the manipulation process. And that is, does this girl hear that she's pretty enough? You know what I mean? And does she, and is she receptive to it? I mean, dude, this book, I'm telling you, would never get written. It would never get published. It would never get published. There's no fucking publishing company on the planet that would publish this book. But I'm telling you right now, if I finished that book, unfortunately, I left Fidelity. I didn't get enough data to be able to really complete the book. But if this book did get published, I'm telling you right now, it would be a bestseller, and there'd be guys getting laid at every major corporation in America right now, whether they were working in the fucking mailroom or they were, dude, I'm telling you, it was based on observation. That's it.
I mean, Aaron, I'm going to ask you the same question. However, hold on one second. Going back to what you just said,
yeah, terrible stuff.
Doesn't that scream sexual harassment?
No, you have to be very careful. I mean, what we're talking about here is we're talking about lunchtime breaks where you're just having conversation. You're never saying shit like, "Oh my god, I love your tits." You know what I mean? Your ass is so fine. Dude, if you want to try that shit, then that was not where I was going with this. It's very cerebral. It's very you're carefully choosing what you say.
Your target's like Osama bin Laden over here.
Yeah, it's really about being smart about the data that's being provided to you. And listen, here's the deal, man. Listen, like I had this happen. I can't even tell you how many times, and this is why I started wanting to write this book. I can't even tell you how many times I would have lunch with a random girl, or not random, but I worked with her. And through the course of like having lunch with her, she would just provide because she wants to get this shit off her chest. She wants to tell you like, my fucking boyfriend, this and that, and he fucking this, and he's such a fucking, and I got so fucking annoyed the other day. So you over the course of time, you're remembering this shit. You know what I mean? Again, it's terrible stuff, and I should never be talking about this stuff. But if your goal, again, gentleman's guide with universal no through the gentle sign, mm-hmm. or universal no through the word gentle. If your goal is to just get laid, they will give you all the fucking info that you need to be able to use that information to manipulate them to get laid. I'm telling you right now, dude, it was a very simple formula.
You're covered into the First Amendment. You're covered into the first. Why not publish this book?
Because people would be lighting themselves on fire in front of that publishing company over it. You know what I mean? We live in a culture where the notion that somebody would write a book like that, even the idea, like even what I'm saying right now, I guarantee has got a bunch of people pissed off. But
there are more terrible books worse than that. I'm sorry.
That's
here's my over emotional state again. But there are worse books than this book.
Yeah.
You're proposing.
No, I get you. But again, my so the whole point of like the title was very specific with the whole, the Gentleman's Guide to Office Dating, with gentle being cut out, and it's just the Men's Guide to Office Dating. And again, in the foreword, I specifically made it clear that this is not a book. This would not be a book that's about how to create a long-term lasting relationship. And I even said in the foreword, something to the effect of, if it leads to that, great. You know what I mean? If you actually do find that you fall in love and, awesome. But that's not what this is about. It's essentially horribly about how to manipulate the data that you're being given, that is literally being thrown at you. A lot of times you don't even have to ask for it. All you have to do is sit there and just be a sponge. You know what I mean? But what do you do with that? You know what I mean? What do you do with that once you have all this data? And so, but again, end of the day, the truth of the matter is, and I started fleshing this out a little bit when I was thinking about writing this book, was that you really never know how shit's going to end. And that's what makes any of this shit scary, is because, and this is why the phrase, you don't shit where you eat, is still so appropriate, because you don't know where it's going to end. So if I give you all the tools for how to active listen, how to use the information, how to manipulate the situation, how to whatever this and that, and I end up making it so that you get laid, and then her husband shoots you dead, right? Sorry, but you got laid, but now you're dead. You know what I mean? Like, so you never really know how things are going to end. You might end up having sex with this girl. The book could still be for a woman too. It's the same thing. Guys do the same shit. You know what I mean? You sit down with a guy for lunch, and if he's in a really poor relationship, he's going to fucking be sitting there and talking about it. He's going to, because he wants to get it off his chest. You know what I mean? To somebody who he thinks is
caring.
A comrade. Somebody who he thinks like understands where he's coming from. This is what people do. It's our natural inclination to do that. So all I'm saying is that you never really know how it's going to end, and chances are it's probably going to end bad. But chances are that there's also a chance that it's going to end up great. You're going to get laid, and then you're going to be like, peace. You know what I mean? Sorry, but that's just the truth.
Erin, you're itching at this. What are you going to say? What?
I just...
You had a relationship in the workplace. I know you did.
Me?
Yeah, with Bernie. She's married to you,
Yeah,
dude.
well... Yeah.
Well, no. You never had a relationship in the workplace? No? Okay.
Do you want to have a?
Yeah, really. The common sense New Hampshire workplace.
Come on over here. Let's talk about this.
It's all I could say is it's
Are you talking a romantic relationship in the workplace?
Yeah.
No.
You never had one? Nothing? Okay. All right. I was just curious.
I've had friends that I've dated after we worked together or before we worked together, but never
Not during
while we worked together.
Gotcha. It's very tricky.
How about you?
Yes.
Well, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Is this another mod story?
No.
No.
We're going to hear all about mod.
Right, well, we got to hear
to answer your question, yeah, I have.
Yeah. And
what?
How did it end? How
did it start, and how did it end?
Well, let's just put it this way. I was Craig Driggers in a former life.
Wow. Good for you, dude. Congratulations.
Wow.
Before he met me, they used to call him Pimp Status.
Oh, snap.
And she's saying that
Status.
in a vulgar, sarcastic way.
Wow.
Watch
You still love me?
Something's gonna get thrown. I can see it.
But he used to get all the Shreks and the Kool-Aids.
Oh, all right.
I believe those are referred to as
There was a
dumpster.
time where those did not exist,
Oh, right.
Okay?
What? Your ex-wife? Do we even go there? with
No,
that?
don't even go there. Don't even go there.
I got some words for her to call
Yeah,
her that or not.
Where did you meet
Well,
her at a gig?
Who?
Your ex-wife?
We met on a blind date, and boy, was I fucking blind.
The ugly lights never
You're
came
Ronnie
on.
Mills at that date. All right, nice.
Yeah, people like to keep numbers, but the number doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just a number.
Yeah.
That's all.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, if you boiled that number down, like, I know some people who probably have ridiculously fucking high numbers, but if you really wanted to look at the number of people who, I don't know, were actually attractive, you know, maybe that number might be a little bit smaller.
Sometimes you just have to take it for the team.
Maybe significantly smaller, you know. But hey, what are you going to do?